Okay, we're actually going to go on to your training at the moment.
Yeah.
So what's the story with any more triathlons?
I signed
How
up.
many have you done?
I've done quite a lot. I've only
Yeah.
done one full Ironman, but I've
Okay.
done quite a lot of 70.3s, and I've done about 10 70.3s. About 10, 9 or 10. It's there's two things about it.
Yeah.
Amazing sport, unbelievable sport. It takes. I love that there is a huge obsessive element with it that you got to watch. It can be dangerous.
Okay.
A lot of people were using that over the top endurance stuff to run away from something.
Something else.
That won't work, because that endurance thing stops someday,
Yeah.
or that an injury comes in someday. So one thing I learned very quickly is that it is an obsessive sport. People constantly are trying to beat times, and they're constantly and most people who try to do it anyway are those type of people. So I made a promise to myself when I started that I won't get too caught up in it, and I still did. And I don't have responsibilities. I have no mortgage. I don't think I have kids. I was able to spend money on my bike and
Right.
for this year. But I have heard horror stories with it. So there's two sides of it. But as a sport, the discipline, the positive environment that you're around of people, they're good people doing it with big hearts who are actively trying to take care of themselves. But my God, it's a tough sport. I, to this day, until the day I leave this earth, will never forget doing the marathon and the Ironman, and the stuff that I went through, and the darkness I thought, and the craziness that went on in my head. I will never forget it. It was insane, and it was also about 30 odd degrees, so it was the heat. But I just remember I was talking to myself. I was hallucinating. It was crazy stuff. So I remember finishing it. My mum was going, "You're going to get obsessed. You're going to do more." I went, "I'm selling my bike. I'm done, and I'm going to study next year. I'm going back to my masters, and I'm going to dedicate my time to that." Like, you cannot train for an Ironman and do a masters at the same time, and hold a job down.
Yeah.
So I had to choose, but I will go back to it.
Okay.
But my training currently is I'm doing. I've kind of got into the idea of yoga, purely because it's part of my masters. My masters in mindfulness and mindfulness-based interventions. So I wanted to explore yoga in a deeper way. I'm not very good at it, and I know that goes against the attitudes of yoga. You're not meant to be good at it, but like I can't touch my toes bad at that type of stuff. Someone always gets hurt in the yoga class when I'm there, because my legs don't. Your woman's like, "We're going to go on to handstands." I say, "You don't need to see this, or unless there's nobody here, I'll give it a shot." And unless you got those balls kids jump into in playground, like put some of them there or something. But I love the idea of it and the attitudinal foundations of it, and I love the Buddhist psychology around it. I love it. But also I have to maintain my fitness, because I will go back to triathlon, and I don't want to go back and spend 3 months just low and go, "Oh my God," so I have to keep it. So I do a lot of like cycling would be my sport that I was strongest at, but I'm in the gym quite a bit. Like, I have a lot of legacy injuries that I have to keep my eye on and keep rehabbing and prehabbing and making sure my body's okay. And a lot of them are my back and my knees.
From rugby, your back,
and knees and joints and stuff. So I do a lot of kind of rehab work in the gym, which I find very relaxing as well, and not too tense in the body. So, but I think with me, sport is always there, but sometimes you have to choose. Especially now, it's not my job. I'm not a professional athlete, so. My studies are more important this year. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the nutrition with the triathlon. Or with an Ironman, or
your issue with the nutrition with an Ironman is because you're burning that amount of calories in your training. Like my training towards the end of the Ironman last time I was about 24 hours a week training.
Yeah.
Which, whatever way you sculpt that, is full-time training, professional training, and sometimes in your head you have this thing, I can eat what I want because I'm burning so many calories, but then you start forgetting about the fuel, and you start forgetting about what how can you maintain that level of training. So food actually became the most important aspect for me. I had to eat between 6,000 and 6,500 calories a day just to maintain my weight. I knew I'd drop, and my fighting weight 16 stone, I knew I was going to drop to about 14 and a half for the Ironman, which is fine, but I didn't want to get too skinny. So food became really, really, really important. But in the race, if you don't get that right, it's over.
Yeah.
That is the most important part. And I remember my coach, Mark McCabe, saying, if you don't nail the nutrition, you will not finish this race. There is no stubborn gene or anything in your body that will allow you to finish an Ironman without an effective nutrition plan. And so I really thought about it, and I worked out on the bike that I was going to need about 21 gels. And I knew in my head, I said, or for the cycle and bike, sorry. And I was like, I cannot do that. I will be sick. I will not finish. So I basically started getting into the idea of dates, which I dread. I hate dates. But I had the idea, they're a hell of a lot easier to eat. And I had it like a bag, and I had them like sellotaped to my frame. And literally every 18 to 20 minutes I had to have a date. And I was eating date upon date upon date upon date. And I've never had one since. But I couldn't have got my nutrition more on point than I did at the Ironman. And that's why I did well at it. Was because at no point did I go hyperglycemic, which happens a lot. I saw 4 or 5 people faint on the bike. On the bike. But then
with your clips in, and then you just...
Clips in, just gone, cycling into poles. And the one thing I had is, because I was leading up to the Ironman, I was having huge issues with cramp. Yeah. And I was studying it, and I was going to doctors, and they were like, well, cramp isn't a muscle thing, it's a nerve thing. And the nerve is making the muscle fire too much, and that's what's happening. I was petrified that I was going to cramp. And that's the end of the race, a bad cramp. And in the swim, I couldn't think of anything else. My calves keep cramping. In the swim, oh my God, it's a 4-kilometre swim. Got through the swim, got on the bike, and I basically read that mustard, like pure mustard, that really horribly yellowy mustard. Yeah. Or pickle juice was the other thing I used.
I had done that, yeah.
But the mustard idea was the same thing, but I couldn't stomach the pickle juice, so I had like about 20 sachets of mustard on my bike, and I was putting them in, and by the time I got the bike, the yellow stuff everywhere. I was just, if you're gonna do an Ironman, don't let anyone take pictures of you. It's the most unattractive state you'll ever be in. It's disgusting. And then I got to the end of it, and my mum was there, and everyone just burst into tears. It's just fatigue. It's just fatigue. But I remember this guy come up to me, Irish guy, going, "Are you going for a pint?" And I went, "Oh man, I'm not going to do the move." He goes, "Faint." I'm like, "I'm not. What do you mean faint?" He goes, "Fall." And I couldn't know what he's saying. He goes, "Trust me, fall." So I kind of went this really terrible acting fall. And this ambulance guy came up and put like an IV in my arm. Another one, the other one, he was rehydrating me with the IV stuff. And your man goes, "Give me the thumbs up." I didn't realise he goes, "You're going to be grand." Literally 2 hours later, I was sitting in the pub. I felt great, completely rehydrated. The whole, because I pretended to faint. So he knew he'd done a few of them before. But yeah, nutrition is the key to endurance sports.
And what was the one thing you maybe loved most about it, or one thing you didn't like about it?
On the nutrition or the actual
No,
Ironman?
the actual Ironman itself, or the training as well.
It's the most selfish thing you'll ever do. Fair. That's anyone getting into it, and I always used to say to people, it's not your commitment, it's your family's commitment, your loved one's commitment. They don't see you can't go to weddings. You're like, it's usually people sign up for an Ironman and that's their year. It's a 10 to 12 month training plan. Wives and husbands who go, "Sorry, I won't see the kids Saturday, I'm going out for an 8-hour cycle." And that was that's selfish. And most family understand why you're doing it, and you're doing it for yourself, and that's fine, but it can be a selfish thing, and you become a bit, short-sighted of what's happening and who needs you around you. I thought that, but I remember before the Ironman, we were back gigging, and I had to get one long cycle in before, I think we were playing, I think it was Mitchelstown Independence or something in Cork, and in order for me to get my training in, I had to cycle to Cork, in my gear, and then get to the get to the front, and they're like, "Oh, we're playing." And we're like, "You're not playing." I'm like, "I am playing." I had to do our first tour in Scotland. I had to cycle between venues to get my training in. So the lads would be going for a few beers after gigs. I'd be getting up at 6 a.m, going ahead of the bus. And I remember cycling from, I think it was like, it wasn't Aberdeen, but it was to Perth to fucking Glasgow, which is like 160 kilometres or something, in Scotland, in the piss and rain. So those commitments were tough. The thing I love most about it is I absolutely have never felt anything like finishing it.
Okay.
I don't think I ever will.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling I think I've ever felt. And it was just a million different things hitting you in one go. And people talk about it, but it's so true. It's I think fatigue, everything.
Undescribable.
It's like you can't. And that would be my only addiction, to feel that again. But you probably never feel it like that again. Yeah,
because it was your first one. Going from somebody who's played team sports growing up and then going and doing kind of all of these solo trainings, so to speak, did you notice that you didn't have a team behind you? Or, I mean, you had a coach. You had probably people.
I trained with a guy, Jared
Okay.
Mullingar. We did pretty much all our training together. Apart from the swimming. So I knew he was in the race.
Yeah.
I knew he was there, and there was another friend of mine, Neil from Mullingar as well, who's in the Ironman. I was like, very important for me to see them during the race. But when you're out there, you're on your own. That's it.
Yeah.
But it's a very positive. The energy is really positive. Everyone wants everyone to do well. So you don't feel that isolated or alone. But it is certainly a mental race. It becomes not a physical thing after the swim. It then becomes so a mental thing. Yeah.
You prepped for that probably.
Yeah, I had this really cool techniques from visualization and mental imagery techniques that I practiced and really went at. And one of the ones that I found really helpful was the breathing in the positive energy, breathing out the negative energy. And I was like, everyone's cheering left, right and centre, just such goodwill around there.
Yeah.
So I was actually imagining it being something that was coming into my body, and I was breathing in it. But I don't remember the cycle. I was so hypnotised by doing that. I was doing that. My breath was regulated. My heart rate never went over where I had to keep it at a certain level. My power meter was exactly the right level. And my breath never felt, I just felt completely at ease. Didn't even feel it. It's flow. You know, everyone heard that's what it was. It was an utter state of flow for the whole race. And I swear to God in my head, I can't remember any part of that race, that cycle. I remember the run, but not the race, the cycle. Can't remember it.
That's incredible.
It's an amazing, amazing feeling, and your head is just so powerful. There's lots of other techniques if you're interested in those areas, like positive self-talk management and stuff like that.
Yeah.
These are really useful tools that have a lot of science behind them. Don't see them as some, up in the air kind of hippie thing. It really, they're there for a reason. They're work.
A necessity nearly for that.
Yeah,
and then for the half Ironmans that you've done, 9 or 10 of, do you still use the same techniques?
Oh yeah, they're all the same.
Still, they're all the same.
Yeah, no, you just have a different race technique with a half Ironman. Like you can expend more energy in your bike because you only have probably a half marathon at the end, but in your head, like, you have to watch your having a race strategy for a full Ironman's essential. It is for a half, but not as essential. Things can go out the window and you can still keep to your targets and feel. But the one thing is, I did say at the endurance sport is we've gotten so used to relying on computers to tell us how we feel, like the Fitbit stuff, and I must be like, I think that they can really help. But what I started doing in triathlon was listening to my own body and going, right, I should be tired, but I don't feel tired. I'm listening to you, and I'm going and having a conversation with my body and thanking it for getting me through stuff, and literally visualising your arse muscles kind of on the bike going, lads, thanks a million, I'm going to give you a week off after this. You don't have to do anything, you sit and veg. And having these conversations with your body, and they're having them back with you, and that sounds ridiculous, but you've nothing else to do
it makes sense.
in endurance sport. You're out there 5 to 12 hours.
You have to talk to somebody.
Yeah, you have to have a bit of crack.
Well, it's impressive. Even if you only do 10 halves and 1 full, it's fairly impressive. I tell you that now.
My mum won't let me do another one, so I have to do them behind her back, like you used to sneak out when you're drinking.
You sneak out.
Like 12 at night to go for your cycles. I don't still live at home, by the way, just in case. only Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays.
Okay. Finally, we'll wrap